Alright, everybody, welcome to the top 10 discoveries that changed the course of human history. Our number 10, Australopithecus. This is known to be the very first human being to ever exist. The skull was found by somebody from South Africa that is unknown, but the crazy thing is it's estimated that this skull is 3.7 million years old, which is absolutely insane for how long people actually think that human beings have been around for. The size of its brain is estimated to be somewhere around 1/3 the size of a modern human being's brain, whereas they stood to the height of somewhere in the vicinity of 4 to 4.5 feet tall. So the skull is 3.7 million years old, but how do we know that it's a human being? Well, the spinal column was connected below the skull and not the back, which would generally indicate that it'd be the skull of a human being and not that of a primate. So there you have it at number 10. That's the Australopithecus. A bunch of short people that probably weren't very good at basketball. And at number 9, we have penicillin, which is super important to most celebrities. So here we have Sir Alexander Fleming. He discovered penicillin. He was researching bacteria and he accidentally left the cultures out overnight, and when he came back to the lab, he realized that a bunch of mold had grown on it, so he threw it in the trash. It was a little while later when he looked in his trash can and he noticed that the bacteria wouldn't grow around where the mold was, which evidently meant that the mold was killing the bacteria. He later went on to publish his findings in scientific journals, but pretty much nobody cared. They found it very difficult to mass produce this mold, and therefore they didn't really feel that it was very efficient. It wasn't until several decades later in 1945 that scientists realized that they could produce this in mass quantity. Most people know what penicillin is, but for those who might not, we use it to cure bacterial infections, although many types of bacteria have developed resistance following extensive use. Doctor?
Oh yeah, what can I do for you today?
It's really starting to burn down there.
Oh dear God. Have you tried rubbing this pumice stone all over it? Or maybe even smacking it with this hammer?
At number 8, oxygen. Oxygen was first discovered in 1772 by a Swedish pharmacist named Carl Wilhelm Scheele. He called the gas fire air because it was the only known supporter of combustion. This gas was also identified by Joseph Priestley in 1774. He discovered a colorless gas from heated red mercuric oxide. He later went on to meet a French scientist named Antoine Lavoisier and decided to share his discovery with him. Lavoisier went on to demonstrate that oxygen supports animal life respiration. You'd think that would be pretty obvious, but I guess back then it really wasn't. Now listen here. I'm going to need you to hold this canister.
Hey, you're not planning on lighting that match there, are you?
No, never. Why? Would that be a problem for you? Number 7, gravity. This discovery is credited to Isaac Newton. He was an English mathematician and a physicist, while also considered by many the greatest scientist of all time. In 1664, Newton figured out that the force that draws all planets and objects together is gravity. It explained why things fall and why planets orbit the sun.
Isaac, it's time to come in for dinner.
No, Mama. I'm gonna jump out of this tree. At number 6, fingerprints. I'm pretty sure it's pretty common knowledge at this point of what fingerprints actually are. Most people know what they are. They are the print on the bottom of your fingertips. It was in 1823 when Jan Evangelista Perkinji noticed how unique our fingerprints actually are. Now, it wouldn't be for the greater part of the century, up until 1892 to be exact, until the police officers actually figured out how to utilize this technology in order to catch criminals. But eventually they did, and now it has become everyday use. And now for number 5, electricity. Now, a lot of people think that Benjamin Franklin discovered electricity, but that is simply not true. However, the test that he did proved similarities between lightning and electric sparks. Our first known record of electricity actually dates back to 2750 BC, where the Egyptians noticed that there were fish in the Nile River that were electric. The Egyptians named these fish Thunderer of the Nile. There were quite a few cultures around the Mediterranean area that knew that certain objects, such as rods of amber, could be rubbed together with cat's fur to attract light objects like feathers. Thales of Miletus made a series of observations on static electricity around 600 BC. Now jump forward a little bit in time to 1821, and we come across a man named Michael Faraday, who was responsible for inventing the generator and many other inventions that were a great benefit to mankind.
Listen, son, do you see that butter knife? I'm gonna need you to stick it in that socket.
This doesn't seem like a very good idea.
Nonsense! Have you ever stuck a butter knife in a socket before?
No.
Then you don't know what you're talking about.
Number 4, alien life. In February 2011, NASA published a paper in the peer-reviewed Journal of Cosmology. This paper was on microscopic earthworm-like creatures that they had found fossils of in meteorites. A NASA scientist named Richard Hoover opened these meteorites in order to look inside with a powerful microscope. It was at this point that he found fossils of bacteria that he believes were indigenous to the meteorite itself and were not of earthly origin, but that they were the fossilized remains of living organisms that lived on parent bodies of these meteors, comets, moons, and other astral bodies. Now, whatever the case may be, this definitely seems like something that we should probably look into a little bit further. Earth. Okay, nice. Alright, now go ahead and grab that shifter. Yep, yeah, shift it on down and we're gonna land this puppy.
Having a hard time shifting, and this looks like a probe.
Yeah, dammit, that is a probe. Put that down. Number 3. DNA and the double helix. DNA was actually discovered in 1869, but we weren't able to properly demonstrate the genetic inheritance of the DNA until 1943. In the world of DNA, Watson and Crick are actually pretty famous. This is because their breakthrough made it possible for us to understand how organisms pass on their genes, and not only that, but how the workings of the cells are governed. Genome sequencing in the not-so-distant past has proven itself to be a very difficult procedure to perform technologically and financially. Yet, due to recent advancements, mapping the genome has become much more affordable as of late. And now to the splicing part. Scientists have recently figured out how to splice spiders and goats' DNA in order to mass produce a silk that's stronger than steel. We have genetically modified salmon to grow twice as fast and twice as large as regular salmon do. We have modified the DNA in bananas so that we can inoculate people against hepatitis B, and we have over 200 cows in China that have been sliced with human DNA in order to produce human breast milk. This is actually said to have worked. It could prove itself to be beneficial, but I definitely find it a little bit weird. Okay, here's the deal. Hand me that sequencer.
So, what are we gonna be sequencing today?
DNA, dummy.
And what's that?
Not really sure. Now get ready for this injection. Oh, holy crap. I think I might have just given you Ebola.
Is that bad?
Probably. And number 2, the Rosetta Stone. This is the story of Napoleon and what happened during his campaign in Egypt in 1798. Napoleon and his army were accompanied by 167 experts. They were in charge of locating artifacts, in which they did, and a very important artifact at that. When they first spotted the Rosetta Stone, they thought it was just rubbish. Just a stone that was old and had a whole bunch of inscriptions on it, and they weren't really sure what that was. But it didn't take them long to figure out that it was extremely important, and that it was going to be very important in the future for deciphering a lot of the ancient Egyptian texts. Without this stone, it is said that it would have been nearly impossible to decipher all of the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. So this was the missing link in being able to actually translate the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs and having a better understanding of their culture. We decoded the Rosetta Stone in 1822, and all of the accepted decoded Egyptian text is based on this. And number 1. This brings us to our last, but definitely not least. This one is the Earth is round. Now that might not seem like a really big deal to you, but just imagine how difficult it'd be to get sailors to get on a ship if they're all told that they're going to fall off the end of the world whenever they get to where they're going. So basically back then, if you were going to leave port, you were not going to leave for a long distance. And the different sailors that get on the ship with you, they're not going to go unless they have either been there before or they know exactly where you guys are planning on going. And this made commerce by sea exceptionally difficult. So basically after all that, once we figured out the Earth was actually round, an amazing amount of trade routes all opened up all at once, and the world started bustling. People were no longer at this point nearly as afraid and much more open to travel. Well, Genghis, even if the world does turn out to be round, I'm not really so certain that boat's going to take us there.
Get in.
Wow, when you put it like that.
I said, get in the boat.
Jeez Louise, I'm in the boat, guy. Come on, calm down. Well, at this point, I'm just going to steer that damn boat right off that cliff myself. You watch me. I don't even care anymore. Thank you guys for watching my video, and please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time with a new video. Alright, bye.